We're joining us on the program tonight, Sambit Patra, National Spokesperson of the BJP, and Manish Tiwari, Senior Leader of the Congress Party. Sambit, to you first, would you concede that this has been a setback and an embarrassment for the centre after what's happened today?
No, I would not say that, though the formal results would be announced tomorrow by the Supreme Court, as rightly pointed by you. But let's just visit two things. First, as to why the situation arose, and secondly, what the centre did. Was it right or was it wrong?
No, let's talk about the trust vote first.
Yeah, definitely.
It's clear, it appears Harish Rawat has the numbers.
As a political spokesperson, I would say that I cannot discuss the authenticity of the results that have been declared now, though we know from the television reports what the result is. But still, since it is for the Supreme Court to declare the result, I cannot before that start saying what the result is. Neither would any other political spokesperson do that. But assuming that, well, yes, Congress has won the trust vote, let's just visit back as to why there was a precedent rule.
Assuming it's won.
Yes, assuming.
Setback or not?
I told
would you consider it as a setback?
No, I would not consider this as a setback. And that's the reason as to why we have to visit as to why we had a precedent's rule at the first place. I mean, at the first place, all the mishaps took place within the Congress party. Mishap number one, the dissent that we saw. It's not that we lured the senior members of the Congress party to our side, because these dissenting members of the Congress party, the 9 to be specific, in fact, are extremely senior members. Mr. Vijay Bahuguna was one of the chief ministers before Mr. Harish Rawat. So naturally, it's not that they were lured towards us or we were carrying out the dissent within the Congress. There was a dissent because there was a leadership crisis within the Congress. Secondly, we have to revisit March 18. March 18, the appropriation bill was discussed today also.
No, of course. And we know the sequence of events. But I think the point is, at the end of the day, Manish Tiwari, Harish Rawat is claiming he had the numbers. Would the Congress see this as a moral victory then? And when Sambit says he would like to exercise caution and wait until obviously what is officially announced in the Supreme Court tomorrow, he makes a point there. But do you see it as a moral victory today?
Well, Nidhi, what's available in the public domain and what is available in terms of colloquial information clearly lends itself to the fact that the Congress has won the trust vote on the floor of the Uttarakhand Assembly today. Going by the estimates which are available, it says that the Congress has got 34 votes and the BJP has got 28 votes. So therefore, the result and the result coming after high drama definitely knocks the BJP off its haunches, to put it very mildly. But allow me to, revisit this entire sequence of events. Presuming for a moment, even if the appropriation bill was not passed properly, what was the correct course of action which was open to the governor? The correct course of action open to the governor was then to send the appropriation bill back to the speaker and say that, look, I have a complaint from some MLAs that it has not been properly passed. So therefore, why don't you take it before the House again and have a division and allow the bill or allow the result to play itself out. This matter would have been concluded there and then itself. Rather than that, the governor asked the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand to undertake a floor test, which was, as I said, completely avoidable. Then, the day before the floor test was to be taken, the President's rule was promulgated by the President on the recommendation of the central government. That was clearly and absolutely misuse and abuse of Article 356 by the Narendra Modi-led NDA government. And I just wish that the President of India would have held his hand rather than signing the proclamation order on that fateful Sunday. He could have just waited for a day, and on Monday the trust vote would have taken place, and all this what happened subsequently would have been completely avoidable. And let me finish, Nidhi, by saying that the single biggest takeaway from the entire Uttarakhand episode is that the NDA-led BJP government should stop using constitutional functionaries, should stop using governors in order to topple elected governments in very sensitive border states. This is an assault on federalism.
Okay, an assault on federalism, a moral victory being claimed by the Congress there. Stop using constitutional functionaries, they say, to do away with democratically elected governments. Come on. and at the end of the day, Sambit, would you say it misfired? The whole thing was a
I
mistake.
would not say that, and I'll back it up with evidences also. First and foremost, the word that has come quite often now in this debate is moral victory of the Congress party. And who are declaring they are morally victorious? The ones who sting operations, not one but two. One authenticated by the Chief Minister himself, when Harish Rawat himself says, well, yes, the video which came up, the first video which came up was authentic and I was present. So what's wrong? And in fact, the CBI is looking into it. The second video came only day before yesterday, and in fact, the examination of it is underway. So the ones who are declaring that they're morally victorious are the ones who have been caught red-handed in the sting operations. The ones who are declaring themselves to be morally victorious are the ones who are seeing dissent and fallout within themselves. Now, coming to the second point, the constitutional positions should not have been...
But you also had a Supreme Court ordered
No,
floor
I'll
test,
come.
which the Congress appears to have won.
Remember, I mean, Nidhi, the final word is yet to be spoken. The orders of the Supreme Court are not out. This is just one of the stops. Remember, this is the process of law being seen over here. The verdict is not out. Remember, when the judges asked on the floor of the Supreme Court, Mr. Rohatgi said, well, yes, we have no problem with a floor test. And the judges asked, no problem, even if the 9 members, disqualified members, are not allowed to vote. And we said, no, we have no problem.
You had a High Court verdict that was extremely stinging.
But then it was stopped. It was put to stop. It was put to stop by the Supreme Court.
But then a floor test was ordered.
See, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing.
How do you see a victory in this?
Nidhi,
is my question.
Nidhi, I'll tell you. I mean, I'll be quite academic in this and stating that this is one of its kind case. This is not just any other case, and that's the reason as to why we are seeing a seesaw in judgments. We saw a single bench judgment in High Court saying something. Then we saw a divisional bench judgment saying something. Then we saw a Supreme Court judgment which put a stay on the judgment of the divisional bench. And now we have, for the first time, a kind of a scenario where the House, despite the fact that the government is not formed, we have voting on the floor.
Look, if Harish Rawat has won the trust vote, the question that will be asked is, did this entire strategy of the BJP in Uttarakhand backfire?
No. Why did I say it's one of its own case? Over here, the erudite lawyer, Mr. Manish Tiwari, is also agreeing to the fact that even if the appropriation bill has fallen, and there's no contention, everyone within the hearts or outside, the ones who are the part of the Harish Rawat formation, the ones who are from the Congress, within the heart, they very well know what happened on March 18th.
But it doesn't matter what they know in their heart. It matters what has happened legally.
Exactly, and that's the reason as to why I say it's one of its case where even the judges
okay, let me take what you're saying to Manish. I think the BJP is saying the last word hasn't been heard on this, and that it's too early for the Congress to jump to a moral victory.
Well, Nidhi, we can repeat this debate again tomorrow at 12 noon, if that would satisfy my colleague from the Bharatiya Janata Party. If he feels that, notwithstanding what is out in the public domain, which I have no reason to disbelieve, he does not want to rely upon, we can always have this debate again at 12 noon tomorrow. But allow me to step back and say that it is ironic, when Mr. Patra tries to make this distinction between the single judge, the division bench and the Supreme Court. The fact is that essentially all of them said the same thing. What did the single judge say? The single judge said that there should be a floor test. The Attorney General of India flew down from New Delhi to Dehradun and said that no, you have no authority to propound on the validity or otherwise of the President's rule. And therefore, when the single judge went ahead and ordered the floor test, you challenged it in a division bench. The division bench not only upheld the validity of the floor test, but held the imposition of President's rule to be illegal. Then you came and challenged it in the Supreme Court. Finally, when you knew that there was no way out, because you had the Bomai judgment and the Bihar judgment staring you in the face, the Attorney General was forced to concede that we are agreeable to a floor test. And even on the eve of the floor test, what do? You get one of the Congress MLAs, I do not know whether you intimidate her, you coerce her or you lure her, that jury is still out, to try and to defect to your side. So therefore, this government has tried every trick in the book, from
Manish,
using and abusing the Central Bureau of Investigation against the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, using constitutional functionaries in order to topple
but Manish, you know, there are these allegations from allegations, Manish, from both sides about money being thrown at MLAs. You have another sting, an alleged sting of a Congress legislator now just a few days ago that Sambit made a reference to, you know, who's also talking about money changing hands. So it seems a very dirty political game has gone down in Uttarakhand.
Well,
no one's sort of doodh ka dula, as they say.
Can I?
Well, allow me to rebut that straight off. The veracity of each sting operation or otherwise has to be verified. The fact is that there is enough anecdotal evidence which is available in the public space that even the so-called JNU videos were morphed and spliced. Photoshopping is the easiest thing to do in today's world. So therefore, whoever knows as to whether those videos are really
you're
genuine,
making a claim
those
of
things are
photoshopping
genuine
and
or not, nobody's really testified to that.
Can I?